Well, welcome back, Bravoholics, to Bravoholics Anonymous, your weekly support group for all things reality TV. And if you're new here, this is a safe space where Bravo addicts and pop culture obsessives come to break down the drama one meltdown at a time. And it's chaos in the villa because it is week 3 of Love Island USA. And I've never seen the villa in such emotional, devoid disarray. And I am shocked by what we watched this week. It's been a wild one. But first, Bravoholics, I want to welcome back my Love Island USA summer of 2026 correspondent, Janet. You guys, welcome back, Janet.
I'm Janet. I'm a Bravoholic.
Welcome, Janet. Welcome
Thank you.
back to this week's meeting. I just want to say that you're not you've been walking around this villa and you're not an angel either. You're fired up. We're going to get to it. You just hold on. Here's what we're going to do, you guys, because this week was a doozy and there is so much to address. We are going to kick it off and let's talk about the challenges. Then we'll talk about our couples. We'll talk about the Mailbox challenge, and then we'll talk about the aftermath of the Mailbox challenge, okay?
God.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lindsay, and I'm a Bravoholic.
You're preaching to the choir. Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Honey, you have to stop saying that.
Bravoholics Anonymous.
Pie challenge. Ripples of conversation on TikTok about this pie challenge. They were told that there was going to be love, there was going to be hate, and boy, was there.
Yeah, I can't even. That was only this week, the pie challenge?
It was this week, and honestly, corny boots when they were talking about like we chose this girl because I just can't.
Yeah.
I was like with all the love shit and like the cross makeouts and like Gabe's little nuclear fallout from Bea choosing Caleb
yeah.
for one of the things, even though it was all the girls choosing the prompt.
Yeah, I think obviously it was all the girls came to a decision or all the guys came to a decision, and then I don't know how they decided who was gonna do the little speech and do the kiss or do the pie, but obviously that one was for a reason because I remember a couple episodes before, maybe the episode before that, they were like, well, since Gabe is exploring, you should maybe talk to Caleb. And I don't think they ever showed Bea and Caleb talking, but it's clear from her speech that they did at least get to know each other a little bit. So I liked it. I liked that she was finally giving him a taste of his own medicine, but it didn't seem like it was in a tit for tat, kind of way. Mm-hmm. And I think that he was more, and he said this, that kissing, it's kind of like, in like his culture and stuff, like he's a big kisser, as we've all seen. He was like, I don't really care that you kissed him. I just care
That you didn't tell me.
You didn't tell me that you had these good things to say about him, essentially, is what he was mad about. That she was like, oh, you would stand. I think the question for the pie was or for the kiss.
Who would like stand up for a woman and tell her she had something in her teeth.
Yes, exactly. Who would tell you you had spinach in your teeth?
So stupid.
We're asking the real questions.
And they made
here.
it so, and I didn't like, honestly, and this is from the producer's side, I didn't like how serious they made like their answers feel. It felt like it was mocking the fireside choices. And I feel like when they talk about like this girl and this boy, I think they should reserve that just for fireside chat. Like, I don't think they should be playing with it in competition.
Yeah.
I thought, so I didn't like how the mixing of that felt, and I think it killed the energy of the competition
a little bit. Yeah.
I think they should have just like came out, set and went right to the person and like keep the ball moving.
Right.
The pies though were big. They looked heavy, and like the people they chose, like when Mel I'm going to call her Mel because I know she doesn't like it and I don't like her. And this is how I'm going to get back, okay? When Mel got pied, it covered her entire body. It was crazy.
That was funny. She's like, it looks like I jumped into a pie. But I think obviously in the pie challenge, the thing that everybody was talking about the most is Soul getting, so we only saw her get 2 pies, but they were all for along the lines of, this girl doesn't respect girl code, or this girl would steal your man, and all these things that made her out to be like this crazy bombshell that actually came in and was talking to all these guys and stealing everyone's man, when in reality she's been open and transparent from the beginning that no one has allowed her to do that.
Well, the men chose her to do that.
Exactly. So
and
they're making it out like she's some like slut who's gonna, go behind the girl's back and steal her man, when really the only person she did that to was Sincere.
But none of the other girls were like sneaking around and making out in different private rooms. Now you could debate that was Sincere's choice because he was pulling her for chats in those private rooms,
right,
taking her to Soul Ties on like night 1 and like having 2 kisses as Mel was counting them, 2 kisses, 4 kisses. They were always doing it in these discreet places. And I understand why, because Mel was going to have a crash out about it.
Right.
But also Sincere was being shady. And the boys have to pick someone because the producers are throwing out a shady prompt.
Of course.
Who they're not going to pie Bea
They
for
should
that.
maybe
They're
pied
not
Kenzie.
They could have pied Mel. Kenzie, but Kenzie's playing the game too. I don't think she was being shady
for
at
the
all.
girl code thing, it's not like being shady. It's just who else has kissed more than one person that might have a connection with someone else.
They could have pied Kenzie then by that, but 2 of the guys that Kenzie's hooking up with are on the boys' team. Yeah. So she's not going to win that boat.
Right.
Sincere wasn't going to defend Soul because Sincere never at the end of the day was going to choose Soul.
For sure.
So I think he let them choose Soul. Everyone else probably defended every other girl on the line.
So we only saw 2 of the pies, but they cut to Bea in a confessional, and she said all of those pies that went to Soul, they should have they very well could have gone to Mel. Mm-hmm. And now I'm calling her Mel. She said and gone to Melanie. And so that a lot of people were saying that, we also didn't see it cut to a point at the end and Trinity is covered in pie and we never saw her get a pie. We don't know what it was for. So obviously they don't put everything in.
Right.
It's clear that Soul got pied a lot more than we saw, and we can take that from Bea's confessional and the fact that eventually after that pie from Corbin where he like grabs the back of her neck and does it really kind of crazy, she starts crying. And at that point I was like, oh shit.
I loved it. And you can call me ruthless, whatever. I'm here for the drama of the show. And take your pie, Soul. That's the game. You can cover your face, but she was trying to not get the pie, and tough titties, pie came.
Yeah.
I like that Corbin grabbed her head and went, pfft. I think if anyone was trying to hide from the pie, they should have got, because that's the game.
Yeah, but I think maybe if she got like 5 pies before that,
there was no 5
like
pies.
We don't
Janet.
know
It was
that.
Probably 2
we don't know that.
You're right, and we can't debate.
I'm never
unknown.
going to blame a woman for what if it feels like men are ganging up on a woman. I don't care if it's a challenge, whatever it is. I immediately felt. Because I've also someone that was like bullied a lot. I don't know if it's like a little triggering or just like hypersensitive to that kind of stuff. But when she started crying, I really kind of felt like, oh my God, like something's happening here that we're not seeing, whether it's between the guys, the girls, everyone in this villa, that she's already had enough. And that was like day 2 or 3 of her being there. So, and then she had to pause. And then it did show that, I don't know if production had a talk with her. There were rumors that she wanted to leave. Like that was kind of her last straw, and production, convinced her to stay. And then they continued the challenge, with her back in it. But
and they basically just ended it.
Yeah. But I mean, like the
or
next
that's
shot,
where they
it could have
edited
been without her, and then she was still there. But
yeah, I don't know. I think Soul unfortunately chose an asshole right off the jump.
Or he chose her.
And I think Soul is not powerless, and we'll get into it more as we get more specific with the couples. But I don't think she's powerless. I think she came in with her head held high and confident, and that's what most of the men in the house found really attractive about her. And they all talked about her confidence every time they talked to her. Every time Casey talked to Soul, he was talking about her confidence. Sincere was reinforcing that she has this confidence.
Right.
And so
You
I
would
think
that they found her attractive and so confident that they would try and go to talk to her, but nobody did besides Sincere.
There's a really interesting
think
gameplay strategy going on with these couples.
Yeah, they wanted to humble her because she's too confident.
I don't know if it was that vicious, but I just think that should have been Soul's, if that was 2 to 3 days in the pie challenge, I think that should have been her primary indicator that he didn't have her back in that challenge, and that Sincere wasn't looking out for her. And I think that she should have seen that red flag in that challenge.
For sure.
Because that was a big thing, because you want to talk about, like, you know, Kenzie could have got some of those pies because she's playing the house right and she's making out with a couple people. But then you look at the lineup, she had obviously had two men in that line that defended her in the boys' decision on who was getting pied.
No one to defend
and I think at the
Soul,
end of the day, it was like, who's each person vouching for?
Right.
Who's their voice vouching for? And I don't think Sincere was vouching for Soul at all.
Nobody was vouching for Soul,
So, so the pie challenge was super revealing. I know Corbin took a couple pies for sure. And Jen with the classic line, "I know you're sincere, but you're not honest," was like the hardest hitting bar in that competition. And I did have a Bravo moment at the end. I thought it was really hilarious. You guys, Bravo moments, hell no moments. These are things we highlight on the show, moments we loved, moments we didn't love. And a Bravo moment for me was after the whole pie game was over, Zach had a diva moment and was like, of course, it was my pie that made her cry. And like, then Zach went off and made this whole thing about him and how he feels bad. And like, of course it was my pie. Of course it was my pie. And I was like, Zach, you're such a diva. You are such a diva.
He's such a victim. Poor Zach.
What a diva.
Has the hottest girl on the island.
The hottest girl on the island.
And a boyfriend on the side.
And a boyfriend on the side.
I feel
and
so bad for you, Zach.
Diva. Okay. So that introduced us to our Aftersun hosts, that challenge. And we'll get to Aftersun in just a moment, but we did have eliminations right after this. And America voted to pair the bombshells. We talked about it last week leading into this week. Caleb was paired with Kenzie. Soul was paired with Sincere. And Jen was paired with Gabriel. Corbin then got to choose who he's going to pair with, and he chose Melanie over Bea. And Bea was eliminated.
I was sobbing. I was really sad because she was, besides Trinity, she was like my top client. I loved her. I loved how real she was. I feel like she didn't do anything wrong besides...
She had the most emotional intelligence in the house.
Yes.
By far.
100%. She was like arguably the most normal person that wasn't acting like in codes and stuff that you have to kind of, you know, dissect and figure out what the hell they actually mean or
she didn't feel like she was playing strategically to like win the show. She felt like she was like authentically there. And so she was great, but I can also see why producers probably didn't try to rearrange things to keep her, because you can't have someone super emotionally intelligent
right exactly
grounding Melanie and like grounding people.
You know what, too? Like I was just thinking, I didn't even think about this. If she never left, I mean, obviously everything would be different because then like Melanie would have left.
Right,
but
butterfly effect.
I feel like she would have maybe gotten to know Soul and been there for her a little bit.
I think she would have seen it because she was the most emotionally intelligent person there.
Yeah.
But like I said,
she would have called it out and nobody really did.
I'm sure the producers, you know, there's moments the producers are technically interfering when they decide to make America vote instead of like Boys Week 2, having America vote instead of having the guys make their choices. Like these are choices that the producers use to control the momentum of the show. Right. And when they can see who America's liking and not liking on socials, they can then like diffuse the situation. So if they're like, yeah, Sincere's engaging with Soul, but at the end of the day, is he going to choose Soul over Melanie? Let's take that away from him. Let's give him another week of getting into trouble, and let's let America decide to pair them up. You know what I mean? And then even then you're like, how do we know what the votes really were when they say, quote, America votes? I mean, I'm not going to call shenanigans, but I'm just saying
I have
maybe
like
there's
a strong
little
opinion on that. I
conspiracy
don't
theory.
think we'll get to it later with the votes.
Okay.
But I don't think they do that.
Okay, great. I love that confidence. And
I made a TikTok about it last night. I'm like, you guys are dumb.
well, the first Aftersun episode comes, and who's Teffy?
Teffy is a influencer. I first saw her on TikTok. She did, I think this is how she started out. She would do a breakdown of celebrity couples, like their like 9-part, 10-part series about like, you know, Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's, you know, what they started, what happened, all the things.
Okay. So she's not a Love Island person.
Like she wasn't on Love Island?
Right.
No.
Okay.
She's basically started, and then she has a podcast. She just has a very large encyclopedia of pop culture knowledge.
Cool.
And she's hilarious.
And Sierra from Summer House has made her debut on Love Island as a host as well. And I didn't know. I know that Sierra has built out her resume recently by doing things like Traders, but I didn't know how Sierra would be as a host, because truthfully, Sierra is kind of like, I know she's gorgeous, but she's kind of a backseat personality on Summer House. Like she could be in the heat of the drama, and like that doesn't mean that she's not. She's just a lower vibration energy. Like she's a bed bug, which is a group of girls that are known for staying in bed instead of going out to the club at night. Like she's just a little bit more
So she's friends
mellow.
with Paige
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, I wasn't sure what she'd be like as a host, but I think she really vibes with Teffy well. I think they had to bring Teffy in to be with Sierra because Sierra couldn't stand on her two legs as a host herself. Like she needs another girl to play off of.
I think they're perfect together. Yeah, I think they were goofy. They were
giggling behind their cards.
Yeah.
I had a Bravo moment in the Aftersun episode, and I shared it on the Bravoholics Anonymous TikTok page. So if you're not following, check it out. And it's when Beatriz comes out, and they're like, her and Sean are sitting on the couch together because Sean also got eliminated. And side note, Sean's eliminated. And she goes, you know, when he first came in, I just thought to myself, I didn't escape teen pregnancy to become a stepmom. And I was obsessed with that statement. Amazing. And I was like, hell yeah, that's right. Yeah, and he took it well. He laughed, I guess. But I think Sean came off more likable in the Aftersun episode, especially seeing footage of like his mom and how hot and young his mom is, and his sister like defending him on social media. Yeah. And I love the new edition of like documentary style showing the contestants getting their phones back and watching them go through their phones for the first time.
I'm gonna be honest, I watched clips of Aftersun. I didn't watch the whole episode.
Well, I loved it. I thought this added like this was a level of dimension that I'm much more interested in for Aftersun, and it's the first time ever that they're doing it. So they like had camera crews in the room with them when they got their phones back and turned them on, and we got to watch their organic reaction like it was a documentary.
Was that where the clip of Bea talking to her sister or her friend came from? Okay.
Yeah. But like we got to watch Sean turn on his phone and see he had like 800 messages, and then like the first one he read was like an ex-girlfriend or something, or someone he went to high school with, that was like, I'm sorry about what the mayor said. And then his stomach, you could watch his like heart fall into his stomach, and he's like, wait, what did the mayor say?
Oh, he doesn't. Oh my God.
And then he got to like, we got to watch him scroll through it and read in like a message from his sister and like catch up in real time. And that was so cool to watch.
Did you realize he lost his job in real time?
Yeah, he didn't talk about that specifically, but he's like, yeah, I've actually met the mayor before, and it's crazy because everyone at work like knew that I was. So yeah, I thought that was really cool.
I thought the Bea's sister or friend, I'm unsure who it was like, hey, everyone thinks you're gay. And she goes, huh?
I know, it's funny. And she's like, wow, can't I like dick, okay?
Yeah,
That
God
was
forbid.
funny. What did you think of the World Cup challenge?
I thought it was fun. I thought it
I think they put those hot dogs in there just to watch Zach eat a hot dog.
That was crazy. The hot dogs were crazy.
Because that doesn't even have to do with World Cup soccer. Like
It doesn't.
I think
like
they
4th of
literally
July
just did that to
themed
see
hot
like
dogs.
who was going to deep throat a hot dog.
Yeah, which was, looked disgusting. I don't know. Like some of the challenges, I'm like, oh, that's fun. I could do that. But any of the ones with food and like when they're having to spit in each other's mouths and stuff, I'd have to, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to do it.
We did discover that Zach has a really long tongue.
He
And
does. We saw that, like, there was a close-up of him, like, scraping his tongue in the bathroom at one of the episodes.
Ew.
And it's,
Why'd
I mean,
they
it's
show
great.
that?
He has great oral hygiene, but
I know, but still gross.
yeah.
Let's jump into couples. Let's talk about the couples.
Okay.
So this is pre-mailbox conversation about couples
Okay.
as we go through the week because we're recapping all of week 3. Let's talk about Bryce pulling Kata. So Bryce
Oh my God.
went
I forgot about that.
Bryce went to his best buddy, Zach, and said, hey, I'm going to pull Kata for a chat. Janet, why did he do that?
Because the producers told him to. 100%. They saw Trinity and Bryce being way too, comfortable with each other, and they were like, you need to at least talk to somebody else. Which is funny because they haven't done that with any of the other couples that are all doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is Couple Island. But I think the fact that he chose Kata, I don't know if he had that choice, was so interesting. And this is obviously alleged. I don't know if they forced him to, but there was no other world in which Bryce thought it was a good idea of all the girls that you're going to have to pull to choose the one that already chose somebody, your bestie.
Like
Over you.
it was just like a bit. It was
Makes no
really
sense.
bizarre for him to do it. Bryce said it was because he wanted to test if there was anything there, and in a confessional says that his ego just wanted to test it. And I'm just like, why didn't it? Just doesn't make any sense to me because I don't understand why he wouldn't just pull a new bombshell.
No, that would all make sense if he chose anybody but Kata. But Kata already bruised your ego by not kissing you in that bed when it was you, her, and Zach.
So you don't
and then
often,
choosing Zach.
you don't genuinely think that he wanted to just try one more time with her? I mean,
No.
she's the most beautiful woman in the house. By my opinion.
but I think it's been like since she, rejected him
Mm-hmm.
and chose Zach.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many days it was between that and then him all of a sudden deciding, oh yeah, I want to try again,
Mm-hmm.
just to make sure it's a no, even though she told him no by choosing Zach. I think that was extremely inauthentic and not organic. And
So is the opinion online that the producers wanted him to go to Kata or just wanted him to go to anyone, and
Wanted
he
him to go
chose
to
Kata to keep
anyone.
it simple?
exactly.
Okay.
Because he knew probably if that is what happened, he probably knew that
wouldn't
would
ruffle any
be-
feathers with anybody else.
Exactly. It would just be another no. We're just friends. Like, what the hell? And
Probably make him look better, honestly, because it's like, oh, he's so sweet. He's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, this prompted Trinity to open up to Bryce and express her worry that some brunette girl's going to show up, which is more his quote type, and he's just going to pull her for a chat. And Bryce says the only thing he can do is prove it to her in the moment. He can talk to her as much as he wants to about it, but all he can do is prove it to her in the moment. So... And I thought that was kind of like an empty way of reassuring her. And then I did notice, though, in this moment that Bryce's body language is giving that he isn't into her. And I know you think differently. So I want you to talk about it with you because I think Bryce isn't like leaning in to physically connect with her ever. Their kisses are like always 2 to 3 short pecks. I'm not seeing tongue. I'm not seeing cuddling or caressing when they're talking. And I'm not saying every couple's like that, but I just think it's interesting that physicality and that natural draw isn't there. I see him leaning away a lot. Mm-hmm. I see his head leaning away a lot. So yeah, and I just feel like Bryce now is giving me Rob Roush vibes, where it's like feeling a little strategic, like he's coming on the show looking to build fame, and the Trinity thing is giving Nicolandria, and he sees the hype success from last season of how Nicolandria's careers are going, and I just kind of fully expect him to sit back and ride the whole show out with Trinity, but I don't see him like leaning in and actually like being attracted to her.
It could be, but I mean, so I love Bryce and Trinity. That's who I voted for.
For America's Favorite Couple.
For America's Favorite Couple. I think I see it more from her side. I really like how much she likes him and how much she makes that known. She's like doing his nails, doing his hair. They're talk to each other like besties, but then at the same time, I think are growing to be more affectionate. I think from maybe almost a week ago, maybe that body language was there in terms of maybe he's not leaning as much into it. I think they're cute. I think we haven't addressed the age difference again. I know that it was brought up in the beginning by Trinity, or maybe, no, it was by Bryce as well, that there might be too much of an age gap. I think they've kind of just pushed that to the side and have tried to grow their connection. I think that's genuine. I think it would be a little too obvious for him to be doing the whole, oh, look at Nicolandria thing. And they've kind of made it self-aware in the conversation that they had, where Trinity says, oh yeah, well, I'm kind of scared that maybe someone that's more your exact type might come in, and there's always kind of a risk when you're talking to someone outside of your race. Like, she straight up addressed, you know, the obvious elephant in the room that she's black and he's a white boy. And I don't know, I think the fact that she kind of directly said that made it seem like they're not trying to pull one over on America, saying, okay, we're the Nicolandria 2.0, like just to reheat their nachos. But you know, who's to say? He's a man at the end of the day, so he could be fucking playing her and just trying to do anything to stay in. But I think, you know, we'll have to see with Casa and everything. But as of now, they are the only couple that I could, you know, ethically vote for. They're the only ones that I was like, okay, I see a connection between these two.
Melanie and Sincere. So Sincere pulls Melanie and says that they agreed on exploring, and says he did too much. And then he's asked by Melanie how many times he kissed Soul. And then he says 1 time, 2 times, I didn't count. And then Sincere says Soul isn't on his mind. Melanie is. Melanie asks him what his plan is. He's been exploring the last 2 days, so what's his plan with Soul? Sincere tries to say, you have this Corbin thing going on. And Melanie says, he asked to kiss me and I said no. And then Sincere leaves it on, he's going to make it up to her. And then Melanie says one more time that she's going to forgive him because he forgave her when she was being too much the week before. And then Melanie asks him if he's going to keep kissing Soul, and he says no. And I'm just like, when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, I'm just over the crash outs. Melanie only cares about Sincere, and it's so toxic, this cycle that they're in, and I don't really want to watch them anymore. It's boring. I don't think it's fresh or interesting at all for the villa. And I had hope for her, like the one episode when she woke up and she was like, I feel refreshed and now I'm going to explore this thing with Corbin now that we've been paired together. I actually believed it for a second. I felt stupid for believing it, but I thought she was actually absorbing how stupid Sincere was. And then, you know, she goes and chats with Sincere again, and she's wearing all the polka dots, and she's like lingering, trying to get him to kiss her. And he's like, what are you doing? And then like rejects her. That should tell her everything. If he's willingly kissing Soul like that when they were together, and he's not going to kiss Melanie when him and Soul are together, then that should tell her too.
I don't even know. I don't know what else there is left to say about Sincere. He's a pathological liar. It's unreal. Like, I can't believe, I know that there are men and women, there are people like him out there in the world, but it is so just scary to see him as trying to be a real person play out in front of us. It's like, we can see you. You're on TV. We can see and hear you telling her one thing, saying, I'm not going to explore Seoul. I don't need to do that anymore. And then literally go up, take her up to Seoul Ties and kiss her and be like stroking her face and them be like intertwined in each other for the entire day.
You're being such a distraction.
I agree that sometimes it seemed like Melanie was finally turning over a new leaf and was like, this is what America wants. Maybe they want me to, be with somebody else. Let me explore the same with Corbin. She always voiced that when he came in, that she was attracted to him. And then she just goes, it's just like, you can't even write this. It's just classic narcissistic behavior on Sincere's part. And she is just fallen victim to it. And just when you think that she is out of the woods and standing up, she's just back in it. And it's just draining. And I need him out of my villa.
I hate him. Your name might be Sincere, but you're not honest.
You're
Pie
not
to the
honest.
face. Sincere and Seoul. Seoul shows signs of hope the next day after America pairs her together with Sincere, because now she's in a couple. Now she's not a straggler, and she expresses this. And now I feel like that she's paired with Sincere. She's spending all of her days with him, and she's still not exploring anyone else in the villa. And I think it's weird. I can understand her position of being like, it was already so hard for me just to get paired with someone. Right. So like, now that I have someone, I should probably just be grateful and not be exploring other things. But also it's like, it's tough because this villa is its own microcosm of an environment, and the rules of this environment are different than the outside world rules. And so when you're coming into it, you're trying to find the hierarchy. You're trying to find...
Right. But that's the thing. Nobody's acting like that. Everyone's acting as if they're in the real world. Most of them. Well, except for a select
because
few.
They're all trying to get on the after show after Love Island.
Yeah,
they're all trying to be the couple.
They're trying not to do.
They want careers after the show. They don't care about the show.
I mean, yeah, anyone that goes on a reality show is obviously there to get famous. But I'd like to believe that some of them actually do want to meet someone. And the point of Love Island is that you are secluded from the rest of the world, and there's, the hottest of the hot eligible singles, that you have the pick of the litter kind of thing where you are supposed to be talking to everybody. And that's where the good TV comes from. If anyone's watching the UK right now, it's happening simultaneously while the US is being filmed. And this is like such a good season of the UK. They rarely miss, but because they're actually doing it right. And so there's all these love triangles, but no one's being like, there's drama because there's going to be jealousy and there's going to be fights and there's going to be, why didn't you pull me to say you were going to pull this person? But the thing is, and so that gives you the good TV. So everyone in the US is thinking that you can't even explore, or if you even want to think about it, that's the thing. The Love Island etiquette that we see demonstrated on the UK is that you talk to your partner and you're supposed to have this open communication of, I actually am open to exploring this. Like, Sincere even could have maybe potentially handled this a better way by even just while, America chose, he said to Melanie before America put him with Seoul during that recoupling, we're going to make this work no matter what. He said that to her, and then proceeded to not talk to her for 2 days and just be making out with Seoul the whole time.
Exactly.
And leading her on.
Exactly.
What he could have done and what he should have done is
spend time with both.
Spend time with both and said, hey, I'm going to be open and honest and communicative and say, hey, Seoul, I obviously still have this thing with Melanie, so I want to continue to explore that. And who knows what would have happened. But yeah, they're just not, no one's doing it, even though like Kenzie and Gabe are kind of playing the game correctly. It's still not giving what it's supposed to give in terms of what the whole point of the game and the experiment is supposed to be. I'm irritated.
Yeah. And I think that's why producers have moved up Casa Amor to next week.
Is it moved up, or is it usually...
It feels way earlier than normal.
It feels way earlier, but I'm wondering if...
It's week 4.
time-wise, yeah.
It's going to be week 4 for Casa Amor, and they're going to spend the week in the casa.
It's going to be a full week, for sure.
They always do that. Like, it's
okay.
pretty much like a week of TV where we're watching them on both sides. And then we watch them like at the end of the week come back together again. And then we usually get movie night. And I'm sure they're going to do movie night this year because everyone bitched last year when they didn't.
That was crazy.
It was crazy that they didn't.
I literally, when I converted my boyfriend to be a Love Island fan, and we've been watching a lot of the old UK seasons, and to pick which season we're going to watch, because we've been like jumping around in the earlier seasons, he literally is Googling like which season has movie night because I don't want to watch it.
Well, speaking of Love Island UK, I've also been watching some episodes, and I think it's dramatically different how we actually see them getting to know each other on Love Island UK, where they're asking about family and like things they are into. Why don't we see that
exactly
on USA? What are we watching?
Is it not happening? Because specifically, I don't know who the next couple we want to talk about is, but Kada and Zach, they seem very much really into each other, right? Besides Zach making some constant weird comments about, but what about bombshells? Shouldn't we explore? But Kada seems very, very loved up with Zach. And I'm like, when did they even fall in love? Like, we haven't seen... They're all over each other.
That's why I think it's so fabricated. Yeah. I don't know if it's like the producers are just genuinely not showing them connecting ever, which is weird. It's like, why do you think the American public and why are the American producers making the show so devoid of human connection? It seems fake. It feels fake because all we see is them just choosing to accept whoever they're coupled up with.
Right.
And then because they're not exploring, it genuinely feels like they're just like, put these pawn pieces together. Okay, we accept it. This is our couple now. We're going to stay in this couple now.
Right. And it feels like you can only do wrong by all of a sudden deciding I want to explore, because there's already been this kind of weird standard set that nobody told them,
and that's
was supposed to be the standard.
And I think that's why Corbin had no idea what to even do or how to communicate, because I don't think Corbin's watched the show before this.
It's very clear that a lot of these people have not.
And
watched
he's
the show.
trying to take social cues from other people, and that's why he was telling Kenzie like, I have to respect the couple. I think he was like being confused if like he was supposed to be like monogamous to the couple he was put in, or if he was supposed to be exploring because Kenzie wants to explore. And that's usually how the show goes. Like, I believe Kenzie's watched the show before, and I believe Corbin hasn't, and I think that's why we watched it play out the way it did this week on the show. Let's talk about Corbin and Kenzie. It's come out online this week, some stuff about Kenzie, people that have gone on double dates with her in the real world, people that know her in the real world, some of her social media posts with ex-boyfriends or ex-people, and there seems to be a common thread. Kenzie's a night rider. She likes black men.
It does appear that way. And what I want to say is, I think so a lot of people, obviously America voted her to be with Caleb because, and I'd have to, go back and see exactly when exactly did Kenzie say, I want like a white boy with blonde eyes. She never did.
So here's what happened. Are you ready?
Yeah.
It was the bed challenge when Caleb was introduced.
Right. And they said that's Kenzie's type.
Melanie got all excited.
Right.
And then said, that's Kenzie's type.
Right.
I think Melanie was doing too much because she was doing too much that whole challenge.
Yep.
And she was excited there was another male bombshell coming in to explore. And then she realized that she was being too excited and too much after the challenge. And then she said it's Kenzie's type.
Right.
I think that the other women didn't want Kenzie to necessarily be exploring with their people, and they almost push the bombshell onto Kenzie.
Yeah.
I also think because he's blonde and white that they might have just naturally thought that because he's Southern.
Yeah, I was gonna say they
And
both
she
have
said
the
she
Southern
wanted
accents.
a cowboy, but that doesn't mean
Yeah.
she wants
No.
a white blonde.
That could mean she
Southern
wanted
man.
like Taylor from Taylor
Exactly.
and Landria.
That's what I think
she
he
never
wanted.
said she wanted somebody that looked like Caleb.
And Caleb isn't a cowboy. He's
No,
from the
he's
South.
North
That's
Carolina.
it.
What? I don't.
He has an accent. That's
We
the
all
only thing.
projected
It's
this
not a
onto
cowboy.
her, and it's not actually what she
And the
wants.
producers even gave him that cowboy hat, and then he didn't. He ended up not wearing it.
Yeah,
Like,
just for one, like behind the scenes shot. I can't.
yeah, it was just. So I went back and looked, and then I think that Kenzie, who does like a little attention and likes to be in the spotlight, took the cue that this is a potential love triangle storyline, and she engaged in it and was excited by it and like did pursue it because maybe it was going to be a connection, something she didn't expect. But the whole time she was into Corbin
And
hooking
she
up with
was-
Corbin until they were recoupled.
And she told not Corbin,
Caleb.
She told Caleb that she was pretty transparent with him about everything that was happening with Corbin. So I understand why eventually Caleb gets hurt, but you can't really knock her for not
No.
being. You can knock her for potentially leading him on,
Yeah.
because maybe she should have realized her.
I
that
think
was
she
leaning
knew.
way towards
I think she
Corbin
knew a day or
earlier.
two before
Yeah.
the mailbox challenge.
And she should have maybe, cut it, not completely cut it off, but maybe, hey, it's really, really going well with Corbin, and I think my feelings are starting to develop way more for him than they are for you.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't want to obviously completely, when things are still up in the air of, oh, does he still want to get to know Melanie? And there's this weird kind of tension with Kenzie and Melanie lately that like maybe she felt a little bit in competition with her. I don't know.
I think Kenzie was just jealous because the whole time she wanted to be with Corbin and she wasn't being forthright about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Kenzie and Corbin would have skyrocketed in America's opinion if the second she got recoupled, when she realized that she wanted to be with Corbin, if she was honest about
Yeah.
it from the jump
Yeah.
and told Caleb and you know what I mean? And then that
Right.
strengthened them as a couple going into Casa. I know we still got the end result where they're strengthened going into Casa, but I just think that Kenzie really skirted public opinion turning on her. And my opinion did waver a little on her. I didn't like that. I could tell that she wasn't as into Caleb because any little thing would happen with Corbin and she couldn't keep it in. She'd go tell somebody.
Totally.
And that's how I knew she liked Corbin way
Yeah.
more, is because she'd be like, we kissed last night and we're not telling anyone, to Jen.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean? Or when she was bothered that Corbin was spending time with Melanie, wait till Kenzie sees at movie night that Corbin was hooking up with Melanie in the bed that one night.
Right. I'm trying to
They
think.
were
So
hooking
he never,
up.
right. So he
The
never
first night
told
Melanie
her,
came to bed.
and Melanie never told
It didn't come up
anybody either.
on camera.
Interesting.
On camera.
Well, so with
Because they were going at it.
So I don't know if it was the episode before the one last night or when it happened, but there was, some people have not liked Kenzie from the beginning. They've said she's, MAGA, she's racist, this, that, the other thing.
Oh, really?
But oh yeah.
Okay.
But so America has completely turned on Kenzie and Corbin. The whole plan online before the episode last night where we saw the result of our vote was get Kenzie and Corbin.
What social media outlet are you talking about? Because I find that there's
I'm
different
mostly
opinions
on
on all of them.
TikTok.
Okay. So TikTok was saying
We need to get Kenzie and the app, because the Love Island official Love Island app has, who would you have kicked off? And
a chat thread.
there's, you pick and then it shows the percentage right away. And it was saying a lot of people would have dumped Kenzie and Corbin. So that was everybody's plan, because they just hated Kenzie and Corbin. They wanted, I think it was because they were a little, because she played Caleb and everyone feels bad for Caleb. And people just don't like Corbin because he's,
of course,
comes off
everyone
kinda-
feels bad for the white 21-year-old white boy with blonde hair.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm
because
sorry.
they wanted her to all of a sudden they would be
So
this perfect all-American
that's so
couple.
Trump's America, you guys.
Yeah, and exactly, and it's the same kind of people that are like, oh, but we hate Kenzie because she might be MAGA. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm not on that bandwagon of let's all gang up on Kenzie. But so that also brings me into a little bit of the whole voting situation, basically everyone on TikTok was saying, we're voting them out. We're voting them out. We're voting Kenzie and Corbin out. Everybody don't vote for Kenzie and Corbin. We're going to vote for Caleb and Sol because we feel bad.
Because they feel bad what? They don't have couples?
That they don't have couples and they both got like played, whatever. And so that was everyone saying, like, here's my screenshot. I voted for Caleb and Sol. Oh my God, it's going to be so funny when Kenzie and Corbin realize that they're going to get voted out. And two things. That's not how Love Island works.
I know.
It's very apparent how many new watchers there are this season because it's not just, okay, and here's your favorite couple and this is how many votes they got and then here's the bottom couple, they leave. Like, good for you, America.
I know.
That's not, as you can see from last night, that's not, most of the time, a lot of the time, the Islanders have to choose when it comes to actual
they
couple.
Always choose. They never go off America's vote to kick people out.
And so I get, like, you can hate whoever you want to hate, you want to get them out, whatever, but it's not the way to play the game. And it's like this weird power trip that America has ever since last season with the whole pairing Jeremiah with Iris and like, let's fuck over Huda because everyone hates Huda. It was since then that now it's become this just, I don't know, the culture of it is just so toxic and weird. And hey, if she really is this racist, even though she clearly likes black men and wants to be with the black guy, I don't know, dude. Like, I'm not like going to be a sympathizer for her if it comes out that she is MAGA, she is.
Well, I just don't think it's right to assume that somebody, just because of the color of their skin or hair, is affiliated with something a certain way.
It's because there's TikToks of her in, it's clearly like a college dorm room, and there's a Trump flag on the wall. And so it's like, oh, well, you are who you associate yourself with. I'm like,
she could be at a dorm party.
Exactly.
She literally, Kenzie is, I think if anyone's going to get angry at her for anything, I think a safer assumption is the girl's not even registered to vote. She's giving not registered to vote vibes, if you ask me.
Very much. She might be a registered nurse that doesn't know the vision test. But
so unless there's something like the other contestants that have already been removed from the show, I don't think, I mean, but also like Kenzie did piss me off the way she carried herself with the whole Caleb thing. So I think there was 2 days there right before the mailbox challenge where she knew she wasn't choosing him.
No, she's annoying and she's flawed, but I don't think she deserves to quote unquote be voted out just because. And
then she was talking to Caleb and then gave like the 2020 2030 2013 vision thing, which I think
very annoying.
People just use that as fuel to their fire.
And then like Caleb was like, or not Caleb, their names are way too similar. Corbin was like shortly after that, oh, I love the rain, it's like white noise. And she's like, that's not white noise.
I know. She's just having a day where she's correcting all these guys.
You gotta
I didn't think Kenzie was really ever into Caleb because he was younger than her. Like, I wouldn't. If
Corbin's
I was
the same age, so that is a little bit
they're
of
both 21.
They're both 22.
Well, he'll be 22 in November.
Okay, so he's a little bit younger than Corbin.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to be with a 21-year-old either. Would you?
No, but I would.
I'd pick the 22-year-old that's taller over the 21-year-old.
Sure. But I don't think she could use the age thing as a real argument for that because
they were talking
so similar.
6 months difference.
And like Corbin's not the brightest bulb in the
Yeah.
Whatever the
yeah.
saying is.
You're right.
But
you're right.
I don't know. I don't hate Corbin either. I think it's hilarious, all the memes and everything.
What do you think?
I do think they have feelings for each other. Real feelings.
Oh, you do?
I do. Yeah.
What do you think of Melanie and Corbin? Do you think she was giving that an honest chance, or do you think that Melanie was just trying to find a backup plan?
I think she was, from their conversations of what we saw, I think that it was genuine, that she was, it didn't come off fake to me. Same on his side, but it's always been very apparent that he likes Kenzie.
I think that Melanie is like a truly reactive reality TV person, and these people do really well on reality TV because there's not really a lot of, they're just constantly reacting to what's happening around them, and they're not like spearheading anything themselves. Which is why Melanie gives such pick me eyes all the time and pick me smile. And it's like, it reminds me of the horror movie Smile. Have you noticed that her double teeth head crooked smile? Doesn't that remind you of that horror movie? Did you see it?
I saw people comparing it to The Obsession girl.
Yeah, it's the same. It's creepy as hell. Okay, Kata and Zach, you touched a little bit on them before, but they were chosen for the hideaway this week. They were the first couple to go to the hideaway. Zach didn't seem to be too into any of the gear in the room. He was awkward getting in the hot tub.
Even before that, he was acting weird.
He was acting weird. He's been talking a lot about what if a bombshell comes in. I feel like he's preparing Kata for like him to while out at Casa Amor.
Totally.
And I don't think he was ready for the hideaway. And I think he even said that. And the house still chose them to go in over Casey and Aniya.
Very weird.
What's up with that?
I thought it was, he very much, you know, obviously the reason they showed us that conversation in bed the night before of him randomly saying, well, so I think Kata said, you're so annoying. And to me, it gave, maybe he was like teasing her a little bit in bed, or she was trying to do something sexual, and he kind of like was shrugging it off or whatever. And she was like, oh, you're so annoying. And then he was like, well, I don't know, don't you think that it'll make it that much harder if we are intimate like that, if a bombshell comes in, like for either of us? And she just kind of like was like, what? And like turned over. And then they had a real conversation about it the next day. And she was like, yeah, I mean, it would make things harder. That's totally, like, she saw where he was coming from. But then, yeah, so that's apparent that he, either whether it's genuinely because he's not comfortable being intimate because he knows that he will catch feelings, or because he knows that a woman might catch feelings, you know, even more. And then what if someone comes in that's more his type than Kata, more beautiful than Kata? I don't really see that happening, Zach, but you know, go off, I guess. Or maybe it's more so on his end that he's trying to protect himself from maybe some stud is going to come in and she's going to switch up, and then it's going to be so weird because they've already fucked. And so then to go into the hideaway after all that is absolutely crazy.
Okay, I just think it's so rare that there's like a man that's like thinking ahead emotionally about the repercussions of things. And I can see a world where, because his brother was on the show, Charlie, that maybe he's a little bit more strategic when he's coming in. Like there was a lot of talk about him trying to get in the way of Bryce and Trinity at the end of last week into this week, because he didn't want them to be like a favorite couple and wanted to kind of put a wrench in that early. But also, I think it's like, I can understand someone being like, I'm going to feel a certain kind of way if we start being intimate like that. But also, it's just kind of shocking to see on this show where sex is like episode 1, they had to all make out behind doors, like with everyone on the cast right off the jump. And so to see us go from that to then someone who's like, especially a man, is being more guarded with being physical with someone as hot as Kata, it just is so hard to fathom. But I can definitely like open my mind and see a world where maybe someone is emotionally mature, but I can also see why the internet's running away with theories that this guy is gay and not even into women. And that's why that he is like not pulling her on his lap 24/7.
Yeah. I mean, so
it's hard
all
because
jokes aside, like, I don't think that he's I mean, maybe he is, you know, sexuality is a spectrum. Maybe
I think he's definitely giving by at least.
Yeah. But I don't actually genuinely in my heart of hearts believe that he's
so then
not
why is he
attracted to
constantly
Kata.
talking about bombshells and worried about bombshells?
I think he is trying to kind of save his ass in a way of, instead of ignoring that this might happen, he is, like you said, preparing her. And he knows that, he also knows that the timing of it all, that Casa is coming up. And then to be almost forced to now be intimate, you know, he could have still said in the hideaway, no, let's not do anything. But yeah, I mean, there's a million reasons why he didn't do that, you know, whether he doesn't want to come out and he doesn't want to disappoint her. He doesn't want to disappoint the bros when he comes back out, you know, all these different things. But I thought it was also probably very strategic on the producer's part to do that and maybe have, I think it was, I forget who it was, which guy, I think it might have been KC that was the first one to say Zach and Kata when it was who should go in. And now, okay, you guys are so kind of closed off, and then you're having these conversations of it'll make it that much harder. Let's make you guys have sex, and we're about to have Casa, so now it's gonna get real screwed up.
Yeah, that's potential, but let's talk about Casey and Aniya, because Casey had a lot to say this week, complaining that Aniya wasn't physically intimate with him, sitting on the couch, I think literally talking to Zach. Let's see, who's he talking to about that? Casey and Corbin.
Corbin, yeah.
Are comparing chemistry notes, and Corbin's talking about how, you know, him and Kenzie have this incredible chemistry, and when they're in bed together and everything, it's just like the best and most natural thing ever. And then all of a sudden Casey is like talking about how Aniya is never like that with him. She just rolls over and goes to sleep. It comes up also in conversations with, you know, Aniya and another girl, and I'm just like, Casey was the first one to stand up and appoint Zach and Kata to the room, but why? Because they're the only other day one couple besides Aniya and Casey. I think Aniya and Casey should have been the first ones in the hideaway. I think they should have been the first ones in the hideaway. And then I'm really confused why Casey was the first to say that, when then the whole week he's talking shit about how she's not putting it on him.
Right. I mean, I think that conversation with Corbin and Casey was pretty gross and just kind of typical, you know, boy talk. A lot of people were giving him shit saying, oh, you're calling her a grandma just because she doesn't want to fuck you on TV. I do think his comments were maybe edited a little weird, taken out of context, because he called her a grandma, at least the flow of the sentence that I believe I watched.
No, he did, because then the commentator Ian made a joke that her name should be Annette.
Right. So he called her a grandma because she rolls over and goes to sleep. Not, you know, I think it was the comment of saying you're a grandma was, I'm going right to bed, not I'm not gonna, you know, let you finger me in bed or whatever. So a lot of people are like kind of taking that and running with he's like calling her grandma for not putting out, when I think the grandma comment was actually just she wants to go to sleep. And Aniya did in an earlier episode call him grandpa, so, and saying he acts like a grandpa, so I don't know if that's, you know, like a
maybe
thing.
That's a joke between them or something.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Like the old ones in the house.
But yeah, he definitely was, you know, wants to move maybe a little faster than Aniya does.
Or they packaged Casey wrong to us in the early weeks, and that he's not as emotionally mature as they wanted to make him look, and that he actually hasn't experienced a certain level of intimacy with a partner before. Because when he did get the letter and read the letter, I then saw him like kind of feel whole a little bit more. And I really think that Casey could just be an example of a lot of these guys. You know, a lot of men mistaken sex for intimacy, and it's not the same thing at all. And so I think he could have just been doing that. And by him getting a letter of her stating how she felt, that was actual intimacy. Yeah. And so that was what he was actually looking for, as opposed to be needing her to do whatever.
At the same time, though, I don't know. Casey is on my radar a little bit, that I'm getting the vibe that he's going to fuck Aniya over, in terms of it's not like he would be doing anything wrong by exploring with someone in Casa.
I'm so sick of the word exploring.
I know.
Last week, we talked about a miscommunication they had between the two of them, because Trinity went to Bryce and was talking to Bryce about her insecurity in their relationship and him not being affectionate enough. But before she articulated that she was actually talking about wanting him to be more affectionate, she totally talked about something else first, and it wasn't that at all. She talked to him about being worried that they weren't connecting and that someone could steal him. And then
someone more his type.
Someone more his type, and using that as a way of speaking. And in that case, I think that showed her youth, because she wasn't coming to him directly and saying the actual thing that she wanted him to lean in and hold her more, or kiss her more, and be more physically affectionate.
Right.
She was talking about something different first. And then when it wasn't connecting, then she had to be more honest. And I think that's like a young mistake to make.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying I'm like a man. I'm not saying that men can't be with younger women either, because there's tons of demonstrations in the world of very much older men being with very much younger women than the age gap between Bryce and Trinity. But I'm just saying, like, I can see when they're together that Bryce isn't stimulated. He's not leaning in, he's leaning back. And maybe he's just cool and comfortable. But I've never had a man that's called me dude it be positive.
Oh, my boyfriend calls me dude.
It's
I call him bro.
It's never been a good
And we
thing.
live together.
It's never been a good thing from my experience.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the reason why I don't see the chemistry between them, and I just see the friendship. But again, like I said last week, I do love that they're starting with friendship. That worked for Nicolandria so well last season.
Yeah.
So, and maybe the letters and the mailbox challenge will bring them closer, because when they were picked as an America's safe couple, they did have a fun little giggle and embrace together.
Yeah.
So
I think that ever since she said, I need you to be more affectionate, he has taken that note, which to me says he actually likes her and wants it to work too.
Yeah. I think that they're going to be in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
But I
don't know if they'll survive Casa with him.
He doesn't look, I mean, I haven't seen, if you think that he's into her now, and this is how he is into somebody, I don't think Casa's a problem, because he doesn't seem like a sexually driven guy.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he's not.
So if we go by what you're seeing, and how they're connecting, I actually don't think for that couple Casa will be a problem at all, because he's not a dick out first guy.
Right.
And maybe that's because he got it all out at another point, you know?
Yeah.
Because being a model, everyone knows models, just like, and actors are always hooking up with each other.
Totally.
Okay. So that's them. Who are we missing? Well, okay. Jen and Caleb. I think Jen and Caleb are going to be exploring in the next couple weeks, especially after the mailbox aftermath. But I'm just saying, before that, I've noticed that Caleb goes and pulls Jen a lot to talk as bombshells.
Right.
And like be open with each other. And I see a friendship there. And I could see a world where they start to explore things together because they have a solid foundation.
Maybe.
You don't see chemistry?
I don't see chemistry. I feel like I can't picture them talking. I'm trying to I know that Jen and Caleb would have a lot of conversations.
Oh no, Jen and Caleb had one-on-ones twice this week, but it was about, one of them was after Caleb wasn't chosen in the mailbox, and then one of them was earlier in the week, and it's all focused on them talking about their couples. So maybe it's producer prompts. But I just think that I saw an openness there, and it's the only other person I've really seen Caleb connecting with.
Yeah,
so
I think maybe on his part, maybe he could be into her. I'm not sure. I feel like she would eat him alive a little bit.
I don't. I think Jen is only discovering the Latino man with Gabriel right now for the first time.
Right.
Like, if you told me this is Jen's first Latino, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Totally.
Because she's like so blown away by the intensity and like how passionate it is.
Yeah.
I mean, but Gabe's underwear was off one of those nights. They had a shot of his underwear, and so I was like, oh, they're doing it in there. And their relationship is so physical.
Yeah.
I think when Beatriz left, I think that Gabe switched gears into like a default mode where he's just like hypersexualized and stuff a lot. And so I think he, like, when Beatriz had this great thing is she'd pull like more depth out of Gabe.
Yes.
And have Gabe talk about deeper things. And I think that he connected with her in that way. And when she left, he was left to fall to his own devices and like his old path and with Jen. I don't think he's connecting with Jen besides physical stuff.
Yeah.
So I could see Jen and honestly, before Gabrielle left, I could see them both exploring with other people too.
Do you think they're gonna bring in bombshells before Casa on Monday?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, well, what day is it today?
So they have one episode tonight, Friday, and then they have one Sunday, and then it's Casa on Monday. So that's why I'm like, what would be
What
the
else
point?
are they going to do?
What else would they do? But what would be the point? That's why I'm like, I don't know. To have more, because they have 12 people now.
6 and 6. No, they're not. They're probably just going to send them all to the casa and then flood it with bombshells.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, who haven't we talked about? I think we got everybody. Okay, so let's take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll talk about the mailboxes and then the aftermath of the mailboxes. All right, welcome back, you guys. Now it's time to talk about episode 14, the most recent episode, the one we're leaving it on this week before we go into week 4 of Love Island coverage. Janet's here.
Hi.
We're talking all the things Love Island. Agree, disagree, all of it. We're here. And you were like, when you walked in the door and I was like, I'm catching up. I still have an episode. Can I fast forward it? You're like, we're going to be talking about this the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Really? Okay. The producers are making some of these jerks end their love triangles, and I'm here for it before Casa Amor. They're like, sorry, guys, you're not going to keep playing this. And thank you, because I'm so sick of it. Before the mailbox started, who did you think Kenzie was going to pick? Caleb or Corbin?
Corbin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before the mailboxes, who did you think Melanie was going to pick?
I think deep down I knew that she would, after their conversation where they finally talked after a few days, and I think he told her, like, I miss you and stuff like that.
I never wanted the door to close.
And they had that hug. I was like, she's back. Just from the way that she reacted.
The way she stood there trying to get him to kiss her.
Yeah.
And then who did you think Corbin was going to pick?
I knew he would pick Kenzie.
Yeah. Okay. I actually did think that Melanie was going to go for Corbin because he didn't kiss her after that chat when she was in polka dots. And so I thought that was his way of being like, I choose soul. So I was floored. Yeah, I was floored. So Trinity and Bryce, obvi, kick it off. That one was easy. Jen and Gabe, obvi. Casey and Aniya. I was surprised Casey was choking up reading the letter.
Yeah, that was a little, because literally 5 minutes before we saw him be like,
I don't know how I feel about her because she's not.
Yeah.
It was really confusing.
He was very frustrated about it too. Like he was like almost angry. And then all of a sudden, oh, you're saying these nice things about me. I'm so touched.
He's so emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was surprising because he even said when he was talking to, I think it was Zach the day before, or who was it the day before? He was talking to somebody and he was saying that she wants to be serious and it brings him down. Like when she wants to have a serious, remember how Aniya told him, like, sometimes I want to have a serious conversation with you just for a minute. It doesn't mean we always have to be serious.
Yeah.
And he was like, and then he went and told one of the guys that it just like brings him down. And I was like, to have a normal conversation, like he's always joking. And and if she's complaining about that now, that's going to bother her forever.
Totally.
That's not going away.
That's just him.
He doesn't have any emotional depth.
Yeah.
So I think he just presented it totally different because he used to go up to her and tell her like how he has sisters and how he loves Black women and their bodies and stuff. And I think like that presented like an emotional depth and understanding of women from the beginning.
Said it in his letter, it was like, and I love your dark skin complexion and this, that, and the other thing. So it's like he's trying to just say all the right things. And does he actually value her?
Yeah, or want to listen to her.
Yeah.
So I think like that is a red flag for me for that couple.
Yeah.
But the letters, like I said previously, the letters seem to speak to him. Maybe it was another level of emotional intimacy he's never had before. Maybe this will take them to a next level as a couple. And I'm rooting for them.
Yeah.
Kata and Zach, my favorite, my gorgeous supermodel and her gay bestie. I love them together. My bi king. Okay. I love them. Of course they're paired. Okay. Then we get into the love triangles of the mailboxes. And here's what I really wish the producers did. When they had the love triangles being revealed, instead of having one person open a mailbox, I wanted both the people, like the one in the middle and then both the people on either side, to, in a wide shot, open their mailboxes so we could see if it was empty or not. And in real time, we could see both of their reactions. But no, they made them go one by one, which was really irritating.
Yeah, that would have been way better.
So Kenzie, Caleb, and Corbin. Obviously, Kenzie has 2 letters. I just like fast forwarded through those fucking letters. Did not even want to.
Caleb's was
letters.
Actually pretty sweet.
Yeah, he seems really well spoken. And I'm not shocked that she picked Corbin. No, she's obsessed with that man. Yeah. And like even all the times that they had like quote tension this week was just her being like, why aren't you all over me?
Yeah.
Why aren't you showing everyone that you just want me?
Why won't you kiss me? Do you not like me? And it's giving him, I get a kiss?
Yeah, literally. They're perfect for each other. It's hilarious. Okay. Then we had the Melanie, Sincere, and Soul triangle. And I was fucking shocked. I'll be real. I was shocked that he didn't pick Soul. Because if he cared about his image at all, he just would have doubled down and stuck with Soul now.
Yeah,
you know
America, that would have been the safe, easy. America chose you to be with her, and you have not been giving her any indication that
you weren't going to choose her.
Weren't going to choose her and want to get back with Melanie.
I didn't expect that. Yeah. I thought he was going to pick Soul.
Crazy.
My jaw was on the floor.
He's the worst.
And I also wasn't, because like last week I literally told my roommate like he's going to play with Soul for a week and then he's going to get rid of her. And like literally that's what happened. But I just want to say that like I saw that because of his toxic cycle that he does. But I really, all week he sat with Soul and looked like he liked the energy of Soul and that him and Melanie weren't good for each other. So he was going to go in this direction now. So I was floored that he didn't pick them.
He just he knows that, well, especially after, I guess this was before she called him out, but maybe even then he could suss out that Soul is more, and I like Melanie, but it's very clear that Melanie is pretty insecure and Soul is very secure. She's very confident and she knows that she's beautiful and that she is worthy of being wanted by anyone, especially since someone like Sincere that's giving her all this attention. And he knows that he can just walk all over Melanie and she's going to happily come along with him. And he doesn't want to risk, even if it's going to maybe be what America wants, he doesn't want to risk for his own relationship, whether it goes outside of the villa or what's happening while he's there. He wants to be able to do whatever he wants, and because now he knows from that conversation they had and she didn't react a certain type of way, that
he can go back to her no matter what.
Yeah,
he could do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And that totally adds up to the first like challenge we had where they had to like expose secrets, and it was outed that he was cheating, just to keep bringing that up every week.
Yeah, because
until we get to Casa Amor,
we knew this. Yeah.
When he's probably going to have 2 girls in that casa that he can't pick between. And then he's going to forget that he has Melanie back at home. And then probably still tries to go back to Melanie after he brings back a girl from the casa.
I hope they just bring in like a perfect match for Melanie.
How about when Sincere said the metaphor, it fell apart like a broken glass?
This man and his fucking metaphors that don't. I had 2 fishes and each of the fishes are so beautiful. Oh my God, I'm gonna lose my mind. It's not giving what you think it's giving.
I really want like Love Island to evolve to a place where I saw a post where they're like, can we do like the Hunger Games and send gifts to people in the house? I also want to send him punishments. Like I want to shave Sincere's head for being like nasty. Like I want him to go to sleep and I want him to wake up and be like, America's shaved your head, Sincere, because you were a dick. Exactly. And now you lost your hair. Like I want it to literally become that one day.
No, I feel like if he didn't have his hair, he'd be like, would not be in the position to be just doing what he's been doing and being a fucking
he wouldn't have been
menace.
able to pull Soul.
No, exactly.
Without his hair.
No. It's that fucking hair, man.
We gotta shave it. America, will you vote to shave his head? I really feel like Ariana Madix was holding her tongue when he chose Melanie and went back to Melanie.
Gotta know, yeah.
Like they cut to Ariana and I was like, just say it. I just want her to say it. Like just say it. Oh my God. Damn. Okay, and after the mailbox, America voted. And you talked to us a little bit about what the internet was saying for the voting. Frankly, I was gagged that Melanie and Sincere were voted in the top 4 couples. Why?
I mean, I had another disagreement with my boyfriend last night because he was like, the voting's got to be rigged. The voting's got to be rigged. There's no way that people are voting for Melanie Sincere, and like we saw everybody voting for Sol and Caleb. So what the fuck?
I'm on your boyfriend's side on this.
And it seems a lot of people on the internet are, and I just got, and of course, anything could be true. We don't know what's actually happening behind closed doors, but
they're like, we got to send Sincere to Casa Amor. He can't be kicked off this week.
Yeah, but on the other hand, though, even if it was swapped, Sol and Caleb were safe and Melanie and Sincere were in the bottom, the Islanders weren't getting rid of Melanie and Sincere. They would never come to that decision, so they could have risked it and it would have been fine. But I guess you never know. You don't even want to take that risk. But I think, like, yes, so everybody that I saw on TikTok or my boyfriend saw on Twitter or whatever were voting for Sol and Caleb. But there are over 1 million people that vote for this. We saw that when the app crashed after the first vote. Not everybody that votes for Love Island is online and is totally. Seeing all the discourse, B, sharing who they're going to vote for. There are people, I think there are like day one Melanie fans, just like there are day one like Kenzie fans. Like there are people that will just vote for a single Islander no matter if they hate the couple, because even if you're not online, you got to be, as a viewer, you're not here for Sincere, but still you want Melanie to stay and maybe get coupled up with someone else, so they'll vote for Melanie. So I do believe that, you know, maybe a lot of people did vote for them, and then maybe Sol and Caleb and Melanie Sincere were very close together and it was neck and neck, and that's what ended up just a few more votes, and so they were one of the 4 safe, and then Sol and Caleb ended up being in the
I never
3.
believed that Sol and Caleb would get top 4 America's votes. There's no way.
Right. Well, a lot
even
of people,
if people on TikTok are saying they are, like there's just not. That's just not. That wasn't going to happen with like the Middle America vote. The people watching on prime time.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That there are so many people online that are like, oh my God.
But I just don't think there's that many people that would go vote for Sincere and Melanie either.
Maybe not.
Because they're not even it's not like they're getting them an edit that makes them look favorable, and then the internet seeing a different side that's unfavorable. It's like, no, they're getting an unfavorable edit, period.
But then it's like, think about the others that were in the bottom. Like nobody online or otherwise is voting for Jen and Gabe. You know, it seems pretty superficial, even though they did have, you know, clearly some sort of connection, whether it was just intimate or otherwise. And then there's Kenzie and Corbin, who people really hate. I'm telling you, like, they really...
I know, I believe it.
You can see it.
People need someone to hate.
They need someone to hate, and... you know, with someone like Sincere, it's valid from like, here are the clips, you know, roll the tapes.
Kenzie's not being like shy about her feelings. She's connecting physically with these people.
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of patriarchal America hates to see a woman going and making out with 2 men on camera. How dare she? Slut.
100%.
So I'm not surprised that she's getting hate, and they're going to pull and trench for everything possible on her to bring her down. But if it was out there, it would already be out there if they found something, and she'd probably be kicked off the show a la Sierra.
Exactly.
So
it's more of like people, like I said, they were saying because whatever she said here or she did this behavior, that's a microaggression, or this is that they're projecting that onto her. But until something actually is leaked or she, you know, straight up says or does something, well, these people, you're just making it.
But also, these people aren't role models, you idiots.
Yeah.
If you're an idiot watching this show and you're going online and you're like, oh my God, this person, they are like stupid and they whatever. Mm-hmm. These people are not perfect. We want trashy messes on reality TV.
Exactly.
Stop trying to get Obamas on TV. We don't want the Obamas in the villa.
And it's why
we don't want really smart people, educated people in the villa.
And that's why it's like, why do you want, even if you hate Kenzie, keep her because it's making for good TV. You're going to then complain that it's boring. And so people
These people are so stupid. They have too much power. They think they have too much power.
Exactly.
They think they do.
And that's what I was so annoyed about last night was I don't believe that it's rigged, because I don't think that, like, TV producers, maybe reality TV producers, maybe Love Island specific producers are even more inclined to want to manipulate the contestants and mess around with things and do things strategically to make good TV. Of course they are. That's their job. But I don't think they're going to go as far as messing with the votes, which I did some research because he was like, no, it clearly is. Look how many people said they were voting. Like, this is totally wrong. This is totally wrong. And I was like, all right, let me do a 2-second Google search and see, can reality TV producers legally, will they get in trouble if they, lie about the votes? And in the 1950s, there was a game show scandal that happened where if you publicly state, like, your America's votes are going to determine the outcome of the show, and you publicly state that, then you could have legal repercussions. And that's exactly what happened on this game show in the 1950s. And they got sued and all these things. So anyone can get hired. Not anyone. You have to have some experience. But I think it's also triggered me because I've been on the other side of seeing stuff online, seeing these, like, things that are so factually wrong about an organization or about a TV show or whatever that I know for a fact is not true, and having to bite my tongue and be like, no, TMZ isn't getting paid off by the Kardashians.
Right.
Or, like, whatever.
If you're just joining for the first time, Janet used to work for TMZ.
Right. And so little things like that. And even now, like, I guess maybe I could be like, you guys are dumb. This isn't true. But I think that's why it's like seeing people be like, they rigged the votes, they did this or that. And I'm like, yeah, maybe they manipulate some of the contestants to. It's just giving American
politics.
It's giving, yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I just was like, I don't think that they are breaking the law and potentially risking their jobs and getting, like, legally in trouble.
I'm in the middle here because I don't think that they're referencing the law. And I think that you'd have to prove that.
Wait,
like,
who's not referencing the law?
I don't think the producers in Fiji making the show the week that they lose a producer died this week.
Yes.
On the show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they are necessarily thinking about if they're breaking the law or not breaking the law from the 50s. I do think that producers tamper with things and situations to make it favorable for the show.
100% they do.
I do not think they were going to let those two people be in the bottom this week and risk going home when they are needed in Casa. If there's any couple that we need to see in Casa Amor to heighten the drama,
of course,
it's going to be Sincere in the Casa.
I think they
because
can
he's
mess
a proven
around,
cheater now.
Totally. I think they mess around with all types of things. I don't think, and we saw this last season.
When you vote, does it show you the numbers of who voted for the same thing you voted for, or does it just say thanks for your vote?
No, it just says thanks for your vote. But like, as you see on the app, it like has, like, right now, like, who would you have kicked off? It says automatically a percentage. But the reason I don't think they're committing voter fraud is because they also, last season, when they did that whole, like, Aniya is America's favorite, they actually did line them up from, like, percentage wise, and you got this amount of votes. This was got the most amount of votes, and then individually you got the least amount of votes.
Right.
And so they've been transparent there. They have released percentages before.
So they could have been transparent now.
So maybe they will be. I do not think, because it's not the whole, like, they're not thinking about the law. It's
I don't
the
think
fact
they care about that law.
At the end of, but at the end of the show, they say vote, and this has, like, legally, if you state that, you don't think they're gonna?
No. I think in Trump's America, that shit doesn't matter, girl. I think that because I've watched so many seasons of Big Brother, where things are voted for and things are.
But they have lawyers. They have entertainment lawyers.
Yeah, and you
could
technically get kicked off the show and go sue and try to get those numbers brought out in public court. But also the network attorneys are just going to drag you and your budget through the mud for years before you get to court. And no one's going to go after them.
Well, I'm not talking about contestants. The public.
The public isn't going to class action the
no,
show.
Exactly.
Like, the contestants aren't going to do it. The public's not going to do it. And that's why I think no one will be held accountable. Because at the end of the day, I do want to see Sincere and Casa Amor
of course, I do too.
Destroying Melanie. Melanie is going to be destroyed. Or she's going to now get so insecure that he's in Casa Amor that she's going to go do too much like she did in the bed challenge, and she's going to come back with a guy. He's going to come back with a girl, and it's going to be more bullshit that we have to sit through. And honestly, it's better than sitting, I don't know, it's better than me sitting through, I'm sorry, and you're going to hate me saying this. I know you're going to hate me saying this. But it's better than me sitting there and like watching Soul and learning who Soul is for the first time ever, and then trying to have to root for her to find love in Casa Amor.
Soul, I think I said last episode that I got like a weird vibe from Soul. Like, I'm not even a Soul like fan like
I think it's weird that she didn't really go connect with any of the women. And I think that it's a two-way street. I don't think the women were like, don't talk to me, Soul. I think she could have made an effort as a bombshell, and I'm sure the producers coached her to make an effort, and it didn't work out like that.
Everything that we saw very much gave, she did not get a green light from like body language wise, from conversation wise, from any of the men besides Sincere or the women.
Kenzie especially literally went and sat with her and was like, I'm here for you.
And if Bea was still there, she probably would have done the same thing. But besides Jen, who she came in with, and Kenzie, the rest of the like clique of the girls did not make it apparent that they wanted to get to know her. They were skipping around with Melanie saying she has big boobs, but I have a bigger heart. All these things that it's like, no, I'm not going to go try to talk to you now. Yeah. Like,
that's an OG alliance. That's an alliance.
That's what I mean. So I'm not, and that's kind of what she said when she got kicked out.
Right.
Just like add insult to injury that Sincere led you on, is now going back to his toxic couple with Melanie. And then
leads the boys in kicking her out. And then I love it. Ariana was like, is this your choice or is this the whole group's choice?
Right. Yeah.
Because she had to. But I loved that they made him do it. I love that they made Sincere stand and do it.
Nobody wants to hear your fucking opinions, Sincere. You've already done enough to. That's what I'm saying. I'm not even.
They're just trying to make us angry.
Fan, and I'm like pissed for her because I feel like her entire experience was ruined by this evil little man.
Yeah, Soul said that he's two-faced and not honest, and that he said one thing and does another. And Soul said that she isn't going to spank him. He pissed on her leg and told her it's raining. And then Sincere said that he knew someone was going to get hurt at the end of the day, and he was feeling good with her, and he didn't want to lose their chemistry. But it was tough because he wasn't ready to leave that couple when they sat down to talk.
She ate. Yeah. No lies, we're told. He is, it's exhausting to continue to try to understand what the hell is going on in this man's brain.
Well, that was like his little mistress. Like Soul was his little mistress for a week. And the second that Melanie stopped caring about what he was doing and who he was with, then he came back again.
Exactly.
It's the exact same energy as her making out with the two guys in the bed challenge and then him being pulled in again. Whenever Melanie shows that she doesn't care, all of a sudden Sincere cares. And every time that Sincere leaves, Melanie gets disrupted. And it's like this total cycle, and it's like we've seen other couples do it, and it's so toxic and annoying, and it's just like I don't want to watch it anymore.
No, I'm over it.
The deliberation. How about the boys hating on Kenzie when they're deliberating on who they were going to kick off, hating on Kenzie for playing the house the way it should be played?
Exactly. And then on the flip side, it's like the girls eliminated Gabe for those exact same reasons. Yeah. So if they were, it just shows how differently they were thinking, the men and the women, that you guys. Yeah.
Is it surprising to you that the men are pissed at a woman for exploring, but then the men are all going and telling the girls that they think they're worried that they should be exploring more?
Exactly.
It's so crazy.
It makes no sense.
And then the women kicked off Gabe because he was open to exploring.
And it's not.
It's very confusing.
Melanie was like, it seemed that you were never content, and we don't think that the villa is the place for him to be right now. All right, you're not the fucking casting director.
It was really annoying that Melanie got to talk, honestly.
Really annoying that both of them got to talk. And it's not your decision whether or not, because he was with Bea, and then he cried when Bea, he didn't break up with her. She got voted out, so she left. And then he, like, clearly we saw from his reaction that they had a much deeper connection than we were seeing. So, yeah, he was exploring because he was playing the game. He kissed Sol and Jen before she got kicked off, but he was doing it right. He was communicating, being transparent with his couple. And then she left, and then he's paired up with Jen, so he's going to give her a chance. And yeah, maybe it was more about sex than anything, but maybe that's how he develops a connection with someone.
Yeah.
Clearly from tonguing them down and then ask questions later. And and then it showed that him and Jen were doing that.
And it was so consensual. So
it was
it's
totally
like
consensual. I'm pissed about that. I'm pissed about both of them. I
kind of wish I mean, I don't think that they should have kicked anybody out. I think they should have went to Casa and kept Sol and Gabe. But I understand that maybe they need to do something with the episode. And it did disrupt the house because now they're showing next time on Love Island.
Which is great because that's perfect ammo for we
conversations that are going to happen before they go to Casa.
Yes, we need, because it showed like Kada and Trinity being like, well, if you're not going to make us breakfast, like, you guys should fucking leave too with Gabe if you're so pissed about Gabe. We've never seen like real disruption with, we've seen a little bit of it with Casey and Aniya, but not a lot of disruption with Kada and Zach and Bryce and Trinity.
Yeah.
So we need people to be kind of questioning things and who they're with and why they're stuck with this couple before Casa. We can't have them be like they were last episode when everyone's so happy and
I don't think,
up.
and I don't know, I don't think any of the women are going to put together the argument with the guys. Like, so you guys are kicking someone out, I guess they don't know that they talked that way about Kenzie. So they can't even bring that up.
But I think what's going to happen is because from what Zach said about, well, then this was all for nothing. And we saw that towards the end of the episode or in the preview, I forget. So it kind of gave you a little peek, and I'm sure we'll learn more tonight, into what their thought process was of eventually going with Sol. Then they saw the girls' decision. They probably thought the girls were going to choose Caleb. And then, you chose Caleb, we chose Sol. They were the two kind of floating around singles. Now no one really gets hurt. But instead, they chose their homeboy, Gabe, and now, well, we should have just got rid of Jen. Or because you got rid of Gabe anyway.
And we all want to keep Sol, but we're not talking about it.
That part.
I don't know if they want it, but that's what, like, here's my thing though with men. It's like, if you're not going to say it, then you don't actually want it.
No.
And like, I'm sorry, what you're secretly feeling inside on a show like this doesn't matter.
No.
So even if you secretly want to get to know Sol, it doesn't matter.
I think
because you don't care enough to vocalize it and do it.
No, I think the reason I mentioned that earlier is because I watched a whole 10-minute TikTok of someone talking about the red pillification of Love Island, and they explained very much of what, because all these men, besides like Bryce is 29, I think Casey is 27, they're all younger men, and it's all this subconscious, you really are threatened, you don't want to be rejected by someone like Sol, so you're not even going to put yourself out there because she knows that she's beautiful, knows that she's confident, knows that she's the prize, and so I don't even want to risk getting, and why maybe KC didn't actually, he kept talking that Sol was his type and he wanted to give her a chance, but no, I'm actually going to just stay with Aniya because I'm content here, because you couldn't risk getting rejected by her and risk your couple with Aniya, but also having America see that and all these men view you as weak, because at the end of the day, a lot of these young men right now growing up, whether, not to say that they're all consuming like Andrew Tate podcasts, on purpose, but it's in the water, I think is what this TikToker said.
Right. That
subconsciously they care more about what the boys think. Even
if you simplify it down to insecurity and them being intimidated or not confident enough to pursue someone like Sol, that's still that's so multifaceted for Love Island, and I think it's hard to condemn to just red pill stuff, because I don't know if they're all consuming red pill content.
No,
but
not
I
on
do
purpose.
think but I do think
right now,
but I do think that there's a strategy to getting to the end of Love Island and winning that has been proven on Love Island USA. And you have a higher likelihood of winning the show, getting the endorsement deals, and getting CAA to sign you as a client if you stick with a couple from day one. If you're like an OG couple and you stick till the end, you have a very higher likelihood of winning the show. That's been proven. It's not always the case. I know that there's several seasons that aren't like that, but those people had a much more tumultuous journey to get to the end and win it.
It's not like that on the UK either. Someone like last season, I was an OG girl that won with a Casa boy.
Yeah. And so it doesn't have to be done. Yeah. But I'm just saying you have a higher chance.
Totally.
If you're still with the
Especially
same
in the US,
person. And I just think that's what Aniya and Casey are doing. That's the game they're playing. And I don't think Casey was going to go after Soul ever because he was playing a game with a certain language and moving a certain way and showing how he's standing up and showing up for Aniya. And that's like what he's trying to go into the finale with, being loyal, being devout, being worshiping the ground she walks on. That's the language he uses with her. And so I think that's his strategy to get to the end. I don't think Casey's there to explore. I never thought he was there to explore.
And that's why I'm confused that like, then why are you even like, we can see and hear everything that you're saying. And so we've seen you kind of, stray
They're
away
going to
from
have
that
to do
and-
something to shake up the house. Yeah. And that's why I think Casa's next week.
It's on Monday in theaters.
Couples Island's over.
Please.
Speaking of in theaters, you want to know all the things I tried to do to get into the fucking theater and it didn't work? I think they gave like all the tickets to press. It's only screening at the Regal. AMC posted a poster for it and they're not doing screenings and I'm very annoyed by it. I refreshed it every hour trying to get tickets. The Regal one sold out almost instantly, which makes me think they just gave the tickets to like press people and influencers.
But it's not like an advanced screening, right?
No, it is.
Oh,
I guess it's like on Monday we're seeing the start to Casa and I think the people that are going to the theater are getting the double episode a day early. Yeah.
Did they say that?
Yeah. So it's a special screening for those people. So people will be privy to information. So don't be on social media Monday night after you watch it because there's going to be people that did get to see stuff that's
Tuesday?
That's what we get to see on Tuesday. They get to double episode it on, from what I have understanding, on Monday in theaters.
But then like during the day on Tuesday, are those people going to be?
Yeah, they could be.
What?
That's why I think it's press and influencers that got all the tickets. I tried to contact multiple theaters that are streaming it and request if I could buy a theater and then fill it with Bravoholics to watch it, or if they were going to add screenings. And I even called the AMC media communications guy. I had like went and got his number, got his name, got his number, everything. And no one was responsive or gave a shit. So I think it's just like super limited, super exclusive for a reason. Yeah, so it'll be great. Thanks for joining us to talk all the hot and heated tea of Love Island this week, Janet.
Of course.
It was a journey. Today was a journey.
Today was a lot.
Today was a lot. This week was a lot. And, I'm looking forward to week 4.
They need to do something because people are pissed, and a lot of people are saying I'm tuning out after this. So
Okay.
They need to. I hope they bring it.
Okay. Well, we'll see you next week, you guys. Thank you for tuning in to Bravoholics Anonymous. As always, keep your champagne cold and your taglines iconic. We'll see you next week.